Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative. I'd like to start out by doing the Pledge to Allegiance. If you all join me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pursuant to the Executive Order number 203 issued by Governor Andrew M. Cuomo on June 12, 2020, the New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative law basically went into effect. And pursuant to that, tonight we are doing Buchanan's part with our committee members here today. Nick, you want to say anything?
Do you have? I can say something. Yeah. Do you want? Did you want to lay it? Do you have?
Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that for sure. I'm Nick Zachary, trustee. I think Mr. Jackson, Trustee Jackson, will be chairing this. I'm kind of trying to be here to help out as needed. But the only thing I want to say is I think you all got a copy of the executive order, and you all got the large handbook that the state put out last August with some resources and guidelines for this committee. I think that we are kind of small and maybe don't have problems on the level that some larger communities have. And I thought there could be a tendency to, we have a great example of a small community with community policing, and most people are quite happy with the way things operate here. But I don't want us just to think, okay, we don't have any problems, so there's nothing much we have to do here. I think we should all give it a shot. The governor's request or order is to review our current policies and see if there are any ways that policies as far as how the police interact with the community in general might be improved. So I think we're going to be doing this. We look forward to hearing everybody's ideas, and it may not be a broken ship, but maybe there are things that could improve it even, or maybe some good ideas will come out of this. So I thank everybody for participating. Dwayne, is there a particular starting point that we're going to have here?
Well, we're going to do a roll call to make sure that who's in. As I call out your name, just kind of indicate that you're on the line. Diane Tangent. Diane,
I don't think she signed in.
Okay.
Is she in? I don't see her.
Okay. Paul Matthews.
I'm here.
Thank you, Paul. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Danny Scilarello.
I'm here, Dwayne. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. James Ferguson.
James Ferguson here.
Okay, thank you, James. Jeremy Basso. Jeremy, you're online?
Wait.
He is. He's muted.
Oh, okay.
Jeremy, you're muted, Jeremy.
Well, we'll go to Awilda.
I'm here.
Thank you. James Lent.
Here.
Thank you. Linda Wiley.
Willie, present. Good evening.
Linda Willie. Okay. Harvey Loeb.
Present.
Okay. And Steve Rico.
Rocco, good evening, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. All right. So basically, thank you all for being involved in this this effort. And as Nick has said, that we're being a small community. We don't have a lot of issues, but I think each and every one of you who came aboard to make sure that we take a good look at what we're doing here in Buchanan and how we might be able to improve on it. Is our interim chief on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Jeremy, I can see you now. Can you speak? Jeremy, can you hear me?
We seem to be having a problem with his audio. I'll keep on working on that with him. I'm texting him right now to see if I can get him to speak.
Okay, very good. So as we wait, go through that. The idea is for the committee members to elect a chairperson that will kind of act as indeed the chairperson of the committee, and elect a secretary of the committee, because it is a community effort and run by the community here in Buchanan. We wanted to make sure that the community's voices were heard, not the politicians or as much, and the police for that matter, but make sure that it's a totally community effort. So, Marcus, you want to kind of guide us through an election process for the chairperson?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Go for it, Nick.
Everybody here does not know each other. We did a roll call, but can we have everybody just briefly introduce themselves?
Yeah.
Whatever you'd like
Good
to say
idea.
about yourself, what you do, or what particular interest or background you bring to this, briefly or as elaborately as you like. Wouldn't that be better? Because the people are going to elect the chairperson, and
Sure.
a lot of the people here do not know each other. A little brief introduction.
Great
from
idea,
everybody.
Nick. Let's start back at the top of the list. Is Diane Tangent on yet?
I do not see her. I don't know if she's calling in. I don't have a phone number for hers, but if
Okay.
she's on, she should raise her hand. I don't see her right now.
Okay. Paul Matthews, you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Paul Matthews. I live on 3rd Street. I've been a village resident for over 50 years. Before that, I grew up in Montrose. So as far as the Buchanan Police Department, just as a thought, I mean, I remember when this police department was a 2-man police force, but one of the reasons that I chose to live here in Buchanan for all these years and raise my family here is because it was a safe place. And when I say safe, not in the sense that felt like we were living in a walled community where the police were protecting our borders or whatever, but just this was the kind of community where I never had a concern about being out or being away, for the safety and security of my family, for my home, for my kids being out on the street. So when this came out, as Nick touched on in his comments, one of the things that I was particularly interested in, which caused me to volunteer to be on the committee, is that, yes, a lot of the problems that are occurring around the country are certainly serious and need to be addressed, but they're not necessarily applicable to what we have here in the village of Buchanan and in our relationship with our police department. So that's what brought me onto this committee.
Thank you. James Ferguson.
Hello, James Ferguson. I live on 3rd Street. I've lived in Buchanan about 16, 17 years. I'm a career firefighter and a volunteer firefighter in the area. So with that, I work side by side with the community and law enforcement. I'm excited to be appointed to this committee, as it's an area that's important to our society and community. As a committee member, I look forward to reviewing the present policy and procedures and making needed changes to allow transparency for our community. Definitely looking forward to working with the police department and the committee members. Like you said, everybody said, I don't see many issues with the Buchanan Police. They do a very they're a top-notch bunch, and community policing here has been outstanding. I'm previously from Village of Croton, so I have to say Buchanan, it's a great.
Thank you. Danny?
Hello,
Daniel,
everyone.
I'm sorry, Celarello.
No problem. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Chaladroy, and I live in 9 Lake Drive. I am Dwayne Jackson's neighbor, and I've been living here for almost 12 years now. A great community. I think I know Jeremy in Looking Glass, you know. My son used to go. And as I said, it's one of the great community. Police is awesome, you know, very friendly, and, and I want to be a part of this, and also I do real estate, and looking to be a part of the society and the community and see how can we help. And this is one of the first way to start. So looking forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Wilda?
Hi, I guess I'm the new kid on the block. I moved to Buchanan a year ago from Long Island. I moved here to be closer to my daughter and her family. They live in Montrose. I retired 2 years ago from Washington Heights as a New York City Department of Education principal. And one of my jobs was to work closely with the police department so we could create strong partnerships within the school and the community. And many a times the police would come to the school to hold assembly programs with the children, to have meet and greets with parents. And it really did make a difference. And while I have not experienced any negative issues here in Buchanan, I'm hoping that I can bring ideas and that my experience can help to serve the community.
Thank you. James Lent?
Good evening. It sounds like everybody had it rehearsed already.
I did it.
I've lived in the village for 10 years. I've lived in the tri-village for my entire life, 49 years. I know many people in the village. I know the village police department and how polite and professional that they are. And I just want to contribute some time and see where it goes from here.
Thank you. Did we get Jeremy back on? Okay. Linda Willie?
No, I'm sorry, Jeremy's on. Hold on a second. He should be able to speak now.
Yeah, is the feedback okay? My son is with me at the office this evening and he has the TV on. So can you guys hear okay, or is there feedback that's annoying?
We hear you now.
Okay, great. So I'm Jeremy Basso, and like several other people here, I am from this area. I was originally from Croton, very similar to Mr. Ferguson. And when I was about 7 or 8, my family moved to Montrose. When I graduated from Hen Hud, I moved away for a few years, settled back in Peekskill on the Hen Hud district side there, and moved to Buchanan in 2014. I own a local, well, it's a local business. I own a business that manages waste and recycling services throughout the United States. And we relocated our offices to Peekskill, right by the Westchester Diner there, just about a year ago. I am a very big fan of the Buchanan Police Department. I think that a lot of the quality of life that we have in the village is directly correlated to the police officers that serve our community. And I'm very interested in learning what they need from us as a community to better do their jobs, and what we need from them as a community to better serve the village and the residents that live here. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of the group, and I look forward to working with all of you and how we can make Buchanan even better.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And then, of course, Shane, if we could do something about that guy, we'll work on that too.
We're working on it. Linda Willie.
Hi, Reverend Linda Willie. I am the pastor of the Trinity Boscobel United Methodist Church. I live on Church Street, tucked into a corner of the church. My deck overlooks the preschool, so if you have any kiddos currently or in the last couple of years in the preschool, I've had the great joy of being able to watch and to interact with them. I've lived in the village for 2.5 years. Before that, I was 5 years up in Fishkill. I was asked to serve and am happy to do so.
Thank you. Harvey Loeb, can you tell us a little bit about what you bring to the table and your experience?
Of course. My name is Harvey Loeb. I'm Deputy Chief Counsel with the Legal Aid Society of Westchester. We are the public defender in Westchester. It's mandated that a representative from my office be on the committee, so I am here and I am happy to be here. The only person I know is Steve, who you'll hear from in a moment among all of you. I live in Mount Kisco. I'm on 4 other committees right now doing the same thing. I have to tell you, you're getting a little bit of a late start. So there's going to be a lot of concentrated work to get your proposal submitted on time, which is April 1st, and there has to be a period of community approval before that. So I think this committee is a little bit under the gun. I'm happy to hear that many of you, or really all of you, have spoken, are happy with your police department. I know you're the smallest community by population in Westchester, and you have a relatively small police department, but it's nice to hear that people are happy with it, and I'm happy to serve on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Stephen Ronco, Westchester County District Attorney's Office. Hi, Harvey. How are you doing? I'm also a member of a number of panels, Yorktown, Croton, Peekskill, and I participate in those panels. Right now, what I offer to the panel is I'm here more as a legal advisor of any questions that you might have. Rather than making suggestions, I don't believe it would be proper for a member of the district attorney's office to make suggestions on how the police should be conducting themselves. So I'm more here as a legal advisor to you all. I can tell you what other committees are doing and what suggestions they're making, but I can't recommend any of those things. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, and let us hear from our longtime sergeant and to be chief of the Buchanan Police Department, Shane Farrell.
Hi, everyone. Shane Farrell. I'm the acting police chief here at the Village of Buchanan Police Department. I've been a police officer for 14 years, 12 of them with the Buchanan Police Department. I'm excited for this committee. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I think a couple panelists really nailed it on the head when they say, the community policing aspect of it is very important, and the policies and procedures is just one little aspect of what this is really about. It's really about building the trust between the police department and the community, and how we can go about that better to make this that we can do. If you want, I can just go into some of the background of the police department. And then,
go ahead.
Sure. So we are the smallest police department. We are a 6-member department. We are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we have already started our part with the reform, and it's been ongoing for a time. But just some areas to touch, some training that has been mentioned in the reform and in the booklets and other things. We have completed and recently, within the last couple of months, done de-escalation, communication training, professional communication, use of force training, procedural justice training, and crisis intervention, all in the last few months. The entire department has completed that. Some of our community-based policing programs that we do, we work in a local school. We meet with teachers, staff, students, and parents. We interact in the public. We call them park, walk, and talk. We get out in the vehicles or meet the public and talk to them in an informal way and get educated and learn about each other and just listen to the community. We do Coffee with a Cop program. We just started that last year. It's been a little tough this year. We host our seat event. Well, we did our first one. 2 years ago. This year we couldn't do it. We do something, we're a small community, so we get to do some things that are a little different. And one of the things we do, and we're pretty good at, is knowing who the new residents are. And we get out and we do our best to try to meet new residents and try to just inform them with what they have, information they need, phone numbers, anything like that. We try to catch every new resident. We don't always catch them all, but definitely have an initiative that we try to get out there and introduce ourselves right away. I just think this is a great opportunity for us to really build this relationship department in the community, strengthen it, build upon it, and really get this community program going. Really do something special. That said, I just really, my door is always open. You can call me anytime you want to talk about anything. Please do so. Any resident, anybody, anything about this reform or any topic. I really look forward to this and working with everyone to accomplish our goals.
Thank you.
Question for clarification, if I could.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I couldn't hear you.
I said I have a question.
Yeah,
for clarification. I don't know what the protocol is, so if I didn't want to.
Yeah, just raise your hand and go ahead.
Okay. To Chief Farrell, first let me just explain. I went back through the old village minutes, and this is where I came across this. In July of 2019, then Chief Johansson reported to the board that there was a new training procedure manual that was being put together and that training would ensue. So am I correct in what you described just a moment ago? Was that the training that followed from that?
Yes, so I actually did totally miss that part. Thank you. So yes, so we have redone we are in the process and continuing to redo our entire policy and procedures. We have a company called Lexipol who writes New York specific policies, and they are based on federal, state, and case law best practices. They work with New York State for accreditation, so they are the top policies out there. They update them as things change. We are updated as things change as well, and they are acknowledged and trained on each officer. We have continuing training every month. There's training on policies and procedures. So yes, it's a working document. It's an ongoing document, but we are updated continuously. So as a law changes or case law may happen, we are updated.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, Marcus, how do we want to approach the election of the chairperson and the secretary?
So I would suggest, I'm not an expert on this either, so we got two people who's done on these panels before. I would suggest if anybody's interested in being the chairperson and take nominations on that, take a little vote, and then for the secretary, who'll be responsible for taking the minutes, and then at least we get that out of the way, and then we can continue with the agenda. That's my suggestion, unless somebody else has anything else. Maybe the two professionals who've done this before has any other ideas, but that's what I would suggest.
Steve, Harvey, any suggestions?
I suggest that neither Steve or myself or the chief should be the chairs. I think it should be people who live in Buchanan should fill both positions.
Thank you.
Okay, could we just what will be the role of the chairperson? That might be obvious to some, but can
Sure. So let me address both issues. The chairperson will work to create the agendas for the oncoming meetings. Will actually be the leader of the meeting, open the meeting, and run through the agenda. And also, when we have public comment, we'll actually recognize anybody raise their hands, and then direct me to authorize them to unmute to speak. So the chairperson should be going back, creating the agenda, forwarding it over to committee, finalize the agenda, and then run the meeting and then terminate the meeting and then call for the next meeting, and also recognize who's going to speak at the meeting. So that's what I see. So the majority of the work is actually working on getting the agenda ready for the next future meetings and communicate with the rest of the board on a day-to-day basis if necessary. The secretary responsibility was to create the minutes that will be submitted to the board members or the committee members a couple of days before the meeting, make any changes, and then the minutes will be approved at the next meeting, and then run from from one meeting to another, create the minutes. That's why I see those two rows from going forward.
Any other suggestions from anybody else on the panel? Okay, Marcus.
People, I think people are not, other than the brief introductions, don't know each other well. It might be hard for somebody to nominate somebody. So, if there's somebody that feels like they would like to take this on, I think is what you were saying.
Yes.
Marcus, maybe, otherwise, is this something that has to be done tonight, or could it wait till the next meeting? Should be done tonight, right?
It should be, because out of courtesy, I created the agenda. I'm just facilitating the meeting. It should be the committee members doing the agenda and agreeing on the agenda for the next meeting. Because my hopes are, as they're described to us, we have short time and we need the chairperson to lead the row and get the process completed before April 1st.
Any volunteers?
In the chat, if Dwayne, if you see in the chat, we received a chat from Jeremy Basso. You see the chat on the bottom. You might want to read that for the record.
I agree with them.
Where is it?
Well,
I don't see it. Can somebody read it?
This is like a cohesive unit. I nominated. I think I just got a second. All in favor?
Dwayne, if you don't mind reading what he put in the chat, please.
Yeah, he nominated Nick and Dwayne.
And you
I think it's not supposed. I don't know that we want to have the trustees or the police chief or the representatives from the public defender's office or the district attorney's office. I mean, it should be one of the residents.
I'd like to nominate Jeremy.
I'm sorry, what did you say, James?
I'd like to nominate Jeremy as the to lead the committee. He speaks very highly. He speaks very well for the community.
See, you tried to nominate us. It came right back at you, Jeremy.
Not the plan.
Okay. Anyone else? Can we designate someone besides ourselves?
Jeremy, you don't want to do it?
No, I would. Whatever it takes to help get this process facilitated, I'd be more than happy to do it if no one else is interested. I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time thinking about it.
The fact that you tried to nominate Dwayne and me shows that you're taking initiative, so I think it should be you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate you stepping forward. I don't know if you were pushed or dragged along, but thank you, sir. So
Thanks,
for the secretary, is there someone who might want to volunteer or someone who would nominate one of the other panelists at this point?
What will be the role of the secretary?
Marcus?
The secretary will have to take minutes. It doesn't have to be verbatim minutes, but just to get the gist of the meeting and then provide those minutes to the board members a couple of days in advance of the next meeting. Of course, the meetings are taped and videotaped, so we can always go back to a videotape, but there has to be some official minutes of the meeting.
Any volunteers?
I'll volunteer.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you as a newcomer to the village. I've been here 26 years and I'm still learning. So, well, welcome aboard. I appreciate you being a part of it and stepping forth to do the secretary's role. Okay.
Congratulations, you two.
So let's do, we need to, I hate to put this, but let's do this the correct way. So you had the chairperson and secretary just do a motion, officially a motion. Somebody moved it and everybody say aye. And so just go through that process. Dwayne, if you don't mind.
Yes, no problem. For the election of the chairperson of the Buchanan Reform Committee, the nominations are for Jeremy Basso. Do I have a?
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. Jeremy, thank you. And for Secretary Will DeBias, do I have a vote for her?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you, guys. With that, I will turn it over at this point to Jeremy to really kind of talk about the first item would be discussions for when our next meeting would occur. We put down a couple of tentative dates on your agenda. Like to get some feedback on whether those let's start with the first. The January 25th date is amenable to the majority of us.
Yeah.
And we'll start with.
I'm sorry, Dwayne. If you go through the agenda, you skipped a couple items first. If you don't mind, look at the agenda first.
Oh, I'm okay. Well, all right. Yeah, let's go back to the general discussion by committee members. Go ahead, Jeremy. Well, Jeremy, do you have the names of everybody on the committee?
I have the names of everybody on the screen in front of me, plus Mrs. Tangent, who I think is not here.
Okay.
All right, Marcus, can you forward?
Oh, absolutely.
I think if any of the recent emails should have had everybody's
Yes.
email, but maybe if you could forward those to Jeremy and to Awilda. I mean, I think they're mainly the two people that would need it. Jeremy, just a suggestion. I know, like, part of the agenda is to pick the items of discussion for the next meeting, but Shane, Officer Farrell, or I should say Sergeant Farrell, are you the chief now? What's going?
He's the acting chief. He's the acting chief.
Apologies. So, interim chief Farrell, you were referring to the current policing policies that were rewritten in the last year or so, and if people are going to be commenting on those and making suggestions, I think we need to, get those policies to everybody. People would need to be able to read and review where we're starting from in order to make comments. Does that make sense?
I agree. Yeah.
We need to have a starting point, and I think that would be what people would need.
Definitely.
What policies are we looking for? We got hundreds of policies, so are we looking for what's in this reform?
So I would suggest that Shane, maybe the DA's office or legal aid, since you guys have more experience on this and we're starting from a blank slate. Maybe some suggestion in regards to in your prior experience with other municipalities. What would suggest? What policies, procedures do you think people need to focus on, or what's the purpose of the executive order? But I ran through the workbook. There's hundreds of policies. It'll be important for us to focus on what you guys think is important for what this executive order is supposed to lead to. We would appreciate your help on that, at least.
Can I make a suggestion?
Does everyone have the police reform and reinvention collaborative that was put out by the state?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's over 100 pages. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
139 to be exact.
Yeah, that's sort of an outline of, I think, where the committee has to go or what you have to consider. I know in some of the other committees, the important policies that have been discussed and have been circulated, use of force, stop and frisk, policies regarding de-escalation, what the chief referred to as procedural justice, whether there's any policies, anti-bias policies, implicit bias training. That's some of the hot topics that have come up in the committees that I've been involved in. But in my hometown committee, we've sort of gone through the manual in a procedural, logical way, and the chief commented how it applies to the policies of the department. That seems to work relatively well.
Can I make a suggestion? Rather than go through all of this extensive policies and so forth that may not have much direct applicability to us in the village, why not start this way? Every month, and I believe they still continue to do this, and Marcus, you can confirm this, every month there's a police report given to the village board that's available at every meeting. And it categorically defines what calls our police department made. Now, they used to get reported in the minutes. I don't know if they still do.
Yes.
Why don't we go through and take a look? What are the most frequent calls that our police department, and then focus on any applicable procedure or policy that might apply to that.
And I have another suggestion. I went through the handbook myself, and does list a number of policies or procedures in there. As a committee, again, I'm not a committee member, but as a committee, maybe the committee members can pick and choose from that list what do you consider are the important policies and procedures that you as a committee want to review, and then Shane can provide you those policies and procedures to be reviewed for the next meeting. That's another suggestion. So I don't know how different committee members feel about that.
Well, there's so many policies and procedures out there. I'm just curious if I could ask Sergeant Farrell a question.
Of course.
Do we have any complaints against the police department on the books at the moment?
No, no complaints.
How about in the past 5 years?
Not that, none that I've been, since I've been a supervisor. No complaints.
That's awesome.
Paul, I think you brought up a good suggestion because the acting chief and I had that discussion, and we were basically looking at our police report each month and how we could enhance it and kind of drill down on it a little bit. But here's an idea of trying to, and what we do have, going back 3 months to the last 3 months or so, police reports that we're given, like you said, at every meeting once a month, and have those sent out to the board members to get some ideas of, what those statistics look like, how many, what offenses do occur, and certainly have that reviewed by the panel members, and when we decide on when our next meeting is, using that as a starting point. Any ideas on that, Jeremy?
You got Linda has her hand raised. Linda, of course, you can speak anytime.
If I could have those minutes, I would be happy to compile that information however far you want it to go back. And I live half a block from the village hall, so I can just walk up and pick those up.
Well, if I can just, I went out this afternoon, go on the village website, and in the menu on the side of the homepage is, I think it's board meetings or whatever, and then you'll go in and you'll find minutes. I don't know how far back. I was back into 2019 and 2018 and going back, and you'll find under the village board minutes it comes up under the reports of the trustees in the the order of business.
How far
Yeah,
back?
and that is correct, and I think, Paul, too, that the physical copies of the categories and the number that have occurred from one month to the other might be a little bit easier to just peruse through. And Linda, I certainly appreciate you willing to do that, and I'm almost certain we should be able to get the office staff to put that information together.
I'll try it from the website, and Marcus, I'll let you know if I have any problems with that.
Sure, no problem at all.
How far back do you want me to go?
Anybody?
I would say a maximum of 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years?
You know,
Yeah.
I think that's sufficient.
We're talking about the monthly call statistics.
Yes.
So, I mean, I know that this is not going to be super clear. I'm not intending it, but it is a one-page list of all the police calls for the month. And it's in the it's included in the minutes on the website. I'm not seeing it. I just
no. Let me jump in. I did not find it out there for the for a good part of 2020, which is why
I just randomly picked a meeting from 2020.
So I don't want to cut anybody off, but it's, Shane, would you be able to pull that out from the record and make it easier? That way Linda doesn't have to go through the minutes. Maybe you have a file on these reports that are submitted and make it easier?
I mean, I could check. I mean, I have my files, but going back that far, that wasn't me, so I don't know. I think the files would be with the board. They set up those pamphlets or packets.
Yeah.
Would have that. So I think that would probably be the easiest way, but I can definitely look.
Okay. Linda, we're trying to make it easier for you, try to get you as much as we can, absolutely. So I don't want to interject again, but Steve from the DA's office, you're listening to what's going on. We have to meet a state mandate, and I want to make sure we're going to go off track. Just want to make sure as an advice to the committee, are we heading in the right direction, or do we have to change course here, what's being discussed?
No, I think every committee is a little different. This department is not as big as some of the others like Peekskill, so you have to tailor your committee the way you see fit. I think the agenda had a good starting point. You're electing your committee members, and they had separate subcommittees that broke up into different topics. Say one was training and education, one was civilian review, things like that. And then those committees, they're dividing up the work essentially, and those committees come back to the table with all the other committee members and come up with their suggestions. That's with the public's input as well. So I think with this smaller department and smaller committee, I think we can, again, I'm not going to be making suggestions or anything like that, but I would say that instead of having different subcommittees, you could all collaborate as one committee, and everyone has a say in the overall product.
Thanks for your suggestion, Steve. Certainly, because of the size of our community and certainly the lack of issues, I think we should stay into a time frame. I don't think going back years and years is necessarily applicable at this time, but I think some direction to how far back we want to go could be discussed. But I think to start with, Linda, let's at least do the last year, if so, as a starting point, and see where that kind of takes us to. Is a suggestion I would like to make.
So Shane, if we do 1 year, will you have that information for at least 1 year to give to Linda?
I would have to check again. I just stepped into this role, so I don't have. I can check.
Okay.
Through all the files.
I agree with the 1 year because
I agree.
You're going to get a pretty good representation of what the police calls are on a monthly basis, from even 1 or 2 months. And, you know, it actually tends to be fairly typical. You know, your numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit, but where the bulk of the calls are, a year's worth is more than enough to get a good idea of what the police calls in the village are, what the nature of it is.
Is that a form that could be emailed out to everybody on this committee?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the acting chief, he's just filling in that position. Wouldn't it be easier for the board members who have been there for years to compile that year's list?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have that information on file, and it's just a matter of getting it to you guys for your information. And I don't want to put anybody out on a limb, but I think someone in our office can expedite that.
Very good.
Jeremy
not,
has his.
I'm sure I have
Jeremy,
mine if you can't find them. I can't imagine that they're not on record in the office, but I do have.
Yeah, they're on
mine.
record.
Jeremy has his hand raised.
Oh, I think that an important component of this, no, I'm talking to them, buddy, thank you. I think one of the important components here is not even as much as reviewing all of the policy. While it's important in terms of the request, I guess, from the state and doing a review, to me, I think that if there's no complaints on record, and Shane has no record of any time in his recently or any time during his tenure, it's probably pretty important for us to focus on ways that we can work on the community relationship with the police. The people that are on this panel all seem to be speaking up nicely and saying that they know the police well. And I have a feeling that there's many people that move in who say they know the police, but there's probably a large component of our community who doesn't own their house, so there's not an announcement, so to speak, of an ownership change, and it's a rental property or a family member that they're living with, and it create opportunities for the police to engage with those new community members as well, so they understand it from a welcoming committee standpoint, and not someone that you have to turn your back and walk away from because they're looking to harass you. So if we can find ways to maybe help them work better with non-homeowners, or a way to be notified of new residents when they're coming and going from the community, it could help to sort of open up another dialogue. Maybe people who don't realize what a great police force we have in the community.
I certainly believe that exposure is always one of the best efforts putting forth, and we can certainly kind of drill down on that and see how we can make that happen. It's an interesting suggestion.
This is Diane Tangent. Can anyone hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Diane.
Yes,
Sorry,
ma'am.
Diane. I'm sorry.
Finally.
You showed up as Indian Point. I don't know who that was. So
It came. That's what came up as
Yes.
Indian Point when I put in the number that you gave me.
that's
Hey,
Because
strange.
I've been on your
Diane?
Indian Point.
Diane,
Yes,
it's Dwayne Jackson.
I know.
Okay.
I've
why
been
don't you
listening the whole
basically,
while.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background as being a Buchananite?
I was born and raised in Buchanan. As a matter of fact, I'm fourth generation in this village. I wasn't even sure why I was invited. I thought maybe because I'm the oldest one and I'd be wise, but it might be because I have a lot of law enforcement in my family as well. My nephew is Eric Johansson, who was the short-time chief of police for a while. My son is in federal law enforcement also. And of course, I go back to Chief Gilman when there was only one policeman and he knew every one of us. So I have a great feeling about the Buchanan Police Department. I do feel sometimes, though, that even people who have lived here a long time don't really know you that well. And I think it might be a great idea to have an open house, or I know you probably tried that, and we do see you at Village, the Village Day and things like that. And of course, I see you because I'm a walker and I get a chance to wave and that. But I do think that we need to know our police department a little bit more sometimes.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you made it in.
Well, I've been listening the whole while. You just didn't know I was here. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Any other comments anyone would like to make at this time?
Yes. Linda,
Well,
has her hand
Linda
up.
has, yep, Linda.
Hi. As someone who is not a homeowner, I did not have the privilege of meeting the police, any of the police force when I moved in. Because of my professional aspect, I have approached different police on different occasions and been very happy with my interaction with them, with Chief Farrell and with others. I do want to second the notion of creating a way to contact those who are renters when they move in. My feeling is those who rent might not be as economically secure as homeowners, may be a bit more transient, may not have as much wealth as those who have lived here for a long time, and may need more that positive first meeting with the police than perhaps those of us who are more economically well off and are fortunate enough to own our homes. That may be a very important step of establishing, I think, community relations.
And that's something that shouldn't be hard to achieve either, right? Because the post office can, you can even buy it, if I remember right, Mark, at the barber shop in the circle there. There's a service you can buy from the post office that tells you every new person who's registered with the USPS within X miles of a specific zip code. I think you could even probably make it local to the zip code, which would take the guesswork out of who's moving in and when. So there's a few ways we could do it. I'll look into what some of those are and find the most cost-effective or free way to get it done.
Yeah, but Jeremy, is that any of our business who somebody rents out to?
Oh no, not our business who they rent to. I'm just saying if they wanted to create like a welcoming committee, it's public record. You can just that information is bought and sold all day long just for marketing purposes. No privacy issues. It wouldn't be anything that was not necessarily already available publicly.
Okay, I agree.
You know, we certainly can try and use our resources we have available, because remember now, this is an unfunded mandate, you know.
Sure.
So, but I think it's an interesting suggestion, and just being neighborly as to no matter who's moving in, that we create that presence that, you know, welcome to the community. And, you know, often I thought in the past about how we do a welcoming package to certainly residents moving in, and didn't really break it down by whether who was renting or who was buying. Certainly within our own little communities over the years, where I'm at here over on Lake Drive, you know, neighbors would introduce themselves to new neighbors on the block. And I believe that certainly happens across Buchanan, even in this day and time. COVID put to the side that, you know, your immediate neighbors, and certainly neighborhoodism is always dictated a lot by the children coming to the block and meeting your children, and so on and so forth. So I think everyone understands that aspect of it. Nick?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think Linda has hit on something I'd never thought of, and I think it's really important. You know, we could discuss how you go about this. You could discuss privacy issues. You could, you know, you can get into it. But the point is, renters could very well be a different socioeconomic group than homeowners, and may not be getting the same outreach and welcoming that homeowners do. They're maybe a little less visible. And then when you're introducing yourself to these renters, if it turns out it's an illegal apartment, then you can turn them in also. I didn't say that. No, it's funny because we're discussing illegal apartments. And so, you know, that gets to be a little complicated too, because you want to introduce yourself, you know, you want to welcome everybody and let them know what kind of policing, you know, we have here. But we also, you know, it does get a little complicated when you consider that some people are creating illegal apartments.
So let me just bring some. The village does send out a monthly newsletter to every mailbox within the village. So, but it goes out monthly. We can, this committee is going to continue to February. We can send a notification out, Shane, if we want to send a notification out about the local police department and some information about the police department, we get it out. We can also say this committee is continuing with their meetings. That way the general public will get something. We also have a Facebook page. We have an email list that we send out to people if they want to register for that, so we can get the word out. We try to get the word out that way in the newsletters that people should register for email blasts. Of 2,200 people, we want to have 100 people on the list. So we try to do everything we can to get the people, get the information out to people, but people have to be interested of receiving the information. So, and we put out a newsletter. So if we want to put something about this committee at the newsletter, we could do that, but that'll be for February. And then Shane, if you want to put something about the police department, we could do that as well.
This is Diane. Go ahead. I don't have a hand to raise. I can't find my hand. That's what happens when the Zoom part is the worst for me. But I would like to say this, that I think I understand that the police go to the school. We're fortunate enough to have a school in our village, BV school. And I think that is about the best thing that policemen can do, is to go and show their presence and police people can get to know the students, have the students get to know them. Unfortunately, only half of the children in Buchanan go to Buchanan Verplank School. The other half go to Frank G. Lindsay School, which is not within the village. But I think that's a good way also for people to get to know the police if they go to school. Certainly the children do, and then the families do. And I think that's a very positive part of your job in the village of Buchanan that you've taken on to do.
Okay. We've got a little less than a half an hour left, Jeremy, and I'll just make the suggestion that maybe we might want to kind of, as they say, go around the horn and get people's thoughts just in general for each panel member, or not, over the next 25 minutes or so.
I'm sorry, Jeremy, before you go on as a chairperson, we have not opened this up to the general public yet. We need to get public comments as well.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, everybody that I see on the attendee list, we got 9 people on the attendee list. So if anybody want to raise their hand, ask any question, make any comments, I want to make sure the public has time to speak as well. So I'll leave that open, but you guys can speak about anything you want. If I see anybody's hands being raised, I'll let you know.
Jeremy, how do you guys feel about that?
So I think it's a great idea. I will share with you that I did not join this committee nor sit down this evening with the expectation of being the chairman. So I'm going to need my hand held here, and I assure you that I will be at the next meeting slightly more prepared with what is expected in terms of leadership here. So please don't interpret my lack of direction as a lack of intelligence or interest. I just simply don't know the exact proper protocol. So if you'll guide me today, and then we can jump back into understanding my appropriate role for the next meeting.
Well, I appreciate that. And, as Will just said, I mean, it's 35 pages here. And we're such a small community with not a lot of police incidences in our past. So, we're not going to be as involved in things as other communities. But one of the things that I certainly want to stress is that, from our different walks of life that we bring to the table, that we make the suggestions as that they are applicable to the Buchanan area. So I appreciate again you stepping forth and not holding anything against you personally or anything like that. You're certainly a welcome addition to this. Paul, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just in general, we definitely need to get a more focused agenda so that we can use the time in the next meetings to accomplish what we need to do. I guess I'm still a little confused. What is it that we have to send to the state, if anything? Is there some checklist? I mean,
Steve, you want to address that?
I don't mind jumping in. There is a checklist in the end of the materials, and that can act as a general guide as to what topics have to be considered.
I'm sorry, let me interrupt again now. Is there a must-do checklist that has to be sent back to satisfy the state?
Yes.
Okay, and that's enumerated in the back of the
yes,
document?
That's correct.
Okay, so those things we have to answer and send back.
Yes, the executive of the village has to check off that these items have been considered.
Okay, okay. Then I would say that what we need to do then up front is turn around. Let's make sure whatever we need to do to satisfy the state is going to be taken care of by the end of the sessions, but more so make sure that the things that we as a committee think are appropriate for what we want to do and need to do here in the village are also, and I'm going to say, given priority. I mean, got to satisfy what we got to satisfy.
You're good.
Okay. I concur with it, Paul.
I just have a question. Is the checklist in this manual?
Yes.
Okay, it's towards the back?
Yes.
All right, I'll look.
Is it page 122?
Yes.
I didn't even see it.
Page 122.
And this has to be submitted to the,
now, yeah.
the report has to be
Appendix
submitted to the, sorry, the report has to be submitted to the state by April 1st. The village board is going to have a meeting on March 23rd. The village board has to approve the proposals from this committee. So that gives us, currently on your screen, on your agenda, you're seeing Monday, every 2 weeks, and then 2 meetings 1 week apart in March. But that's 5 meetings. After those 5 meetings, the intention would be to have something. We could add Mondays if we have to, but on the 23rd, the village board has a meeting. That's a Tuesday, and that's when we would anticipate voting on this in order to submit it to the state by April 1st. So if, as we get going, if it looks like the 5 meetings are enough, fine. If not, we could add others.
I just have a question. Is there a template as to how to write this, or it's up to the panel?
Steve?
It's,
Can you answer that?
It's up to the panel. It's up to the panel. Like Harvey said, it's a little late in the game, so I would come prepared to the next meeting, having read the manual, and have suggestions and have recommendations ready to go, because you have to hear from the public as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would suggest any changes or recommendations have to be we'll have to post it on our website so the public has time to respond as well. So you're absolutely correct. I would suggest if the panel can look through the checklist, pick and choose what they want to do. We got a meeting in 2 weeks, but maybe we can get some focus offline in regards to what you want to look at. You can get it over to me and I can put it on the website. That way at least the public has something to look at, to digest before the next meeting. For timing, you don't have that much time to get this thing done. I'm just throwing that out there to the committee.
We have the ability to communicate as a committee back and forth via email, phone, or whatever without it being necessarily public, so that we can be prepared and do work prior to the next meeting. I don't know what the, that whole, does everything have to be done publicly? Not that I'm finding out if there's a way for us to work together without having everyone to be scheduled 3 times a week or something, or waiting 2 weeks.
You can create a Google group.
Harvey, go ahead.
You can create a Google group, and that would be limited to just committee members. I sort of suggest that you don't put everything initially out there for the public. Maybe you want to put some things out right away, but there's a certain process of deliberation the final plan, that has to be published for the public.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
A Google group can be created where documents can be dropped in and there can be comments back and forth.
Great. That'll give us the opportunity to get some work done before the next meeting.
Marcus, I have a question for Harvey.
Go ahead.
I was just curious. He keeps saying that we're behind the ball. We're a little late start. I'm just curious, what is the average for all of the other police agencies? When did they start this process? And if it's a while ago, why are we behind the ball now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Westchester County started in late summer, I believe. Some of the committees, which I just got on some of them sort of late in the game. Some of them have been going for months. Quite a few of them put together surveys and surveyed their residents and their business owners and got responses. I don't think Buchanan has enough time to do that now. I don't think maybe it's really necessary given the size of your community. But
I can see what the other towns and villages have, and maybe you guys can use that as a template to go off of.
That'll be great.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Jim's question didn't get answered, did it? I mean, and you guys, you two lawyers may not be able to answer this. His question is, if we're suddenly behind schedule, when should we have been advised to get this started? How did we get out of the gate late through no fault of our own, as far as we see? And you two may not be the ones to answer that, but that's...
No, I certainly can't answer that. I don't know when your
fine.
people got the information, but...
There you go, that's all we needed to know.
Thank you, Paul.
You should look forward. That's past history, water under the bridge now.
Okay.
Marcus, do you have a relationship with the village manager in Croton?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we could ask for a template from them. I don't think, asking the city of Peekskill is an entirely different makeup, probably of calls and things of that nature, right? So as a smaller village, maybe there'd be a place we could start. Right? Start to adopt some best practices here. If anyone else has another idea, I don't know, North Salem, Bedford, some smaller communities in Westchester. Officer Farrell, you have any department relationships maybe that we could lean on to get a couple quick calls in, maybe gain some best practice ideas and some templates so that we can make up for lost time and don't reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, I could reach out and get some information for it. No problem.
Cool. I'll give you a call later this evening and we could talk about a couple people that might be a good fit for us to use as a model here.
Okay.
Short on time doesn't mean much, right? It just means that we have less time to do the same work. So let's not do the work that's already been done.
And certainly Buchanan has its own uniqueness because of our size and the situations that we don't have here in this community. Marcus, do you want to keep and Jeremy, tell me if I'm overstepping here.
Nope.
Yeah, because I want to be mindful to try and get some public comments in with about 15 or so minutes left to open it up for comments from the outside, maybe.
Yeah, it's open. No one has raised their hands at this point, so I guess we have no public comments at this point, which is good and bad, because that way we can get the business rolling. So just to summarize, we were hoping to finish at 8:30. Summarize is we're going to get some information from Steve. Jeremy, you get together with Shane to get some other municipalities, maybe some templates. As the chairperson, the committee members, everybody has their emails. Hopefully from the last emails that you got everybody's email. You can communicate with each other. And then hopefully for the next meeting, maybe I'll work with Jeremy on the agenda after you talk to the committee members, so we can post a more detailed agenda for the next meeting, maybe focus on specific policies and procedures and get the ball rolling that way. That's what I understand our next meeting will take place, as long as everybody is okay with the dates that are listed so far that what's on the agenda. Is that what I feel is going to happen?
That works for me, Marcus.
And I'll get the minutes to everyone by Friday the latest.
Awesome, thank you.
One thing that I noticed, this is Diane Tangent, the executive order that came from the governor is an excellent overview of what is expected of us. I highlighted a lot of things on that, and I think we could take it from there too. Take some of the rationale, by the way, for this police reform is in response to police-involved deaths and racially biased law enforcement to demand change, action, and accountability. Now, I don't know how much that has to do with our own little village. One of the things that I was wondering is, what are the demographics of the race in Buchanan? I have no idea what the percentage of white, African American, Latino, Asian. I have no idea. Does anybody know? And is that even important?
Yes, would be my concern.
You know, I think we can get those numbers. I do know that from the 2000 census to the 2010 census, the number of minority, the percentage of minority in the village went from like 2% to like 10 or 12%, and I believe it's a lot higher than that now. So it's a changing demographic here in the village. I had the numbers for 2000 and 2010. I will try to find them and see if there's any more recent. We don't have the 2020 census results yet, but I can look into that and try to come up with those numbers.
Nick, actually, I had a conversation earlier with the superintendent in terms of the
what
school enrollment.
The school superintendent?
I'm sorry?
The school superintendent?
Yeah, and we can certainly borrow on some of that information that he'll be sending me. But it's not a...
in terms of enrollment?
It's an issue that certainly we can take a look at it as it's connected to the panel's purpose of coming up with some recommendations. So I don't think that's a major issue, but again,
but it'd be interesting to take note that the demographics in the village are changing.
Oh, absolutely.
Linda just I put on the chat that she can't make a couple meetings. All I want to say is that just because you can't attend the meeting, hopefully as the committee members, they'll talk to each other by email, phone, and that way if you miss the meeting, it's not a big deal. You'll know what's going on. And like I said, the meetings will be recorded. And then if you have any comments you want to make at the meeting, you can't attend it, just let the chairman know, and the chairman can actually respond or at least make the statement on the record of what your comments have been. So the idea is now with emails, we can actually just keep on communicating with each other. I think, Chairman, I guess we'll communicate more for the next week, and then we'll work on the agenda maybe by a couple days before the next meeting. I'll post it and make sure you and the committee agree to the agenda, and then we'll go from there. Is that what I think the feeling is going to be?
Marcus, quick question.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Oh, wait, got a question.
Marcus, every Monday or every other Monday?
Every other Monday. So I would like to get the agenda out by Thursday if we can before the meeting. So it gives us a couple of days to get an agenda ready.
Because the Zoom invite, there's no date. That's what I was just kind of, when I accepted it, it went like every Monday.
The Zoom, I'm going to change the Zoom invite to actually do specific. I did a recurring, just to be on the safe side, but I'll change it now specifically per meeting from now on to match the agenda. And if anything changes, I'll change the Zoom invite as well if you as a committee change any meeting dates.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody should understand these meetings do have to be advertised as public meetings. So even if we do not have any specific plan to engage the public, it has to be advertised and people can listen in. And as Marcus mentioned earlier, they can, I'm not even sure how to do it on the Zoom, but you can raise your hand and get and be acknowledged? Is that how it works? I'm not even sure how you do that.
Correct. Go to the chat.
Yeah, you could go a chat. You could do a chat message, but also when you look at the screen, if you go over your name, there's a thing, raise your hand. So Nick, I'll show you how to do that. If you go to your name, there's a thing you can raise your hand and be recognized that way.
Okay, I'll just wave frantically because I don't know how to do the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, no
Nick,
problem.
if you're on an iPad or something, when you touch the screen, you'll see a header drops from the top. There's
Yes, I
three
got
dots
that.
on the right that say more. So if you hit
Oh,
those three
it's on
dots
the
that
more.
say more, you can
I see it,
you
yeah.
can pull up the raise hand or the chat box from there if
Gotcha.
you're working
Okay.
off a touchscreen device.
I never thought to look at more.
Look at
Okay,
that. Look at Jeremy's already taking a leadership role here. That's good.
Oh yeah, that's all I got.
Is there anything else anyone would like to say?
Can I just ask a couple of questions of the chief? Chief, can you tell us what the composition is of the 6 police officers in terms of ethnicity? And do you have any female officers?
Yes, so we have one female officer. She's a white female officer. The rest are male white officers.
And does the state police do any policing in Buchanan?
Yeah, I mean they can police. Yeah, they assist us. They back us up. If that's what you're referring to, but yeah, they
don't have a contracted shift though, correct, Shane? They're backup. You call for support. They don't have a set. They don't monitor midnight to 8 a.m. or anything of that sort. We're full time through Buchanan, right?
No, yeah, we're 7 days a week, 24 hours.
And Shane, maybe you want to say, you said state police, but also you work with the county police as well and neighboring police departments. So you might, since what's putting out on the record, people might not know that. Maybe you want to talk about also how we dispatch with the Peekskill Police Department. Just to explain a little bit of that so everybody knows how the process works.
Yeah, so yeah, we're a unique police department. So we operate with pretty much one person on patrol. They work through a cell phone. We are dispatched 911 calls and dispatched through Peekskill Police. We have a contract with them to do so. We work closely with the Westchester County Police and New York State Police as well as Peekskill Police. To assist us in any matters that we need backup or any investigational stuff that we need extra help on.
Harvey, that answer your question. Anything else?
Yes, thank you.
Harvey, why would that matter? What their ethnicity is or their sex?
Well, a lot of people feel the police departments should reflect the makeup of the community. A number of police departments do not have any people of color among their officers. I realize Buchanan is in a unique situation because you're by far the smallest police department. I think the next smallest police department is Ardsley, which has 18 or 19.
That's right. Yeah.
For a lot of people, this is a big issue. So that's why I asked the question. But I realize Buchanan's a very unique situation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No questions from the general public. So if there's no other business, if you can take a motion to adjourn the meeting, and maybe Jeremy, you have the agenda. Maybe you want to read out to the general public when the new future meetings are going to be held, just to put on the record as well before we close.
I don't have the agenda in front of me at the moment.
Okay, Dwayne, do you have it?
Yes. January 25th. All meetings start at 7 o'clock and go to 8:30 unless there's other situations going on. So January 25th, February 8th, February 22nd, March 8th, and then the final date will be March 15th. As Marcus said earlier, if there's some things that come up and we need to squeeze in another meeting here or there, we can certainly do that going forward. So those are the dates. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to express to all the the members that they, came forward to get involved in this sense of communityism, which we're small town America, and in being 38 miles from New York City or whatever, and we have a great community in terms of its services, its police force, its highway department, and I am so proud to be a trustee on the board, and look forward to working with each and every one of you to make sure that we take a good look at the pros and cons of our individual situation, but to know that it's about communities, it's about neighborhoods, it's about the respect we give to our to each other. So unless there's anything else, Jeremy, you might want to close with something.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Ms. Baez for being the secretary, as well as the rest of the panelists for giving their time to work on behalf of the community and in conjunction with Nick and Dwayne, as well as with Chief Farrell, and working to continue the progress that Buchanan's making. I think we have a great community. I really love it here, and I look forward to seeing what we can do to help make things even better. And I think this is a great place to start.
May I just thank you. Can I just briefly backtrack a little bit? As far as starting late, as it's really on us on the board. I mean, I don't think it was on our radar when the executive, I guess we heard about it when it came out. I don't think, that we jumped on it quickly enough. We've been pretty overwhelmed with a lot of stuff in this village over the last year or so, and it's sort of it's on us. I don't have to get too detailed, but we did not jump on it quickly enough. As far as the meeting dates go, those dates, tentative dates that that Dwayne and the chief and I discussed, the board can now do whatever they want with those dates. If the board sees fit to change the dates, change the day, change the number of meetings, that's up to the board now.
Thank you, Nick. Marcus?
No, I want to thank everybody for doing this. I've been administrating now for a little bit over a year. I love this community. I live in Peekskill, just put on the record too. I'm right next door. Great community, been very welcoming. I really thank all of you to do this. I know it takes time to do this. I really appreciate this. And I look forward to getting this done. And I'll be here to set up the Zoom meetings from now on. And look forward to working with you guys. So if there's no other business, if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn the meeting, second and close the meeting, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to make a statement. Number one, Nicholas, thank you for clarifying that. And number two, Chief, pass along to your subordinates that we appreciate their service. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Good point, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
If I can steal a quote from Reverend Willie, amen to that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And ma'am.
Yeah, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Take a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.